off at number 10, we have the Portuguese Man of War. While it bears a striking resemblance to a jellyfish, the Portuguese Man of War is actually a species of siphonophore, which are essentially a group of organisms that come together creating one community. There are 4 specialized parts in a man of war, and each is responsible for a different task: floating, capturing prey, feeding, and reproduction. And they're known to travel in legions of 1,000 or more. But despite their beautiful purple and blues and overall badass looking vibe, they are not a creature you want to face if you can help it. Their tentacles grow an average of about 30 feet in length, although some have been recorded as long as 100 feet. And of course, it is their tentacles that pose the big threat. Their long tendrils contain stinging nematocysts, which are tiny little capsules loaded with barbed tubes that deliver venom capable of paralyzing and killing fish. Now, luckily, it is rare that people die from its sting, but still, it will be sure to cover you in painful welts that will last days on the skin, and in some cases the venom travels to the lymph nodes, making the victim feel like they're having an allergic reaction and actively suffocating. So while it's rare to actually die, any encounter with them will leave you feeling as if death is just around the corner.
Number 9. Cone snail. Found in the warm waters in the tropics, these beautiful creatures are instantly recognizable for their highly prized brown and white marbled shells. They can be seen in shallow depths closer to shore, near coral reefs and rock formations, and beneath sandy shores. But do not dare to touch the 4 to 6 inch long gastropods. I'm warning you. Their concealed harpoon-like teeth contain a complex venom known as conotoxin, making them one of the most venomous species of snails. And yes, there are other venomous snails, which I didn't even know was a thing. Thankfully, only a handful of people have ever been stung, but unfortunately there is no anti-venom. The toxin stops nerve cells from communicating with one another, so the creature not only causes paralysis within moments, but per its nickname of cigarette snail, affords you about enough time to smoke before you die. You can find these in the waters surrounding the Caribbean islands, Hawaii, and Indonesia, so if you're vacationing there, be careful.
Coming in at number 8, the box jellyfish. To date, there are 51 different species of box jellyfish that have been discovered, and while there are some species you might be safe from, there are others that can quite literally take your life. The box jellyfish possesses one of the most venomous stings in the animal kingdom, and the bigger they get, the more they need to be feared. Unlike many other venomous animals, the box jelly doesn't just release its venom on anything that threatens it. It actually reacts to a chemical on the skin before releasing its death-inducing poison, so as not to waste it on inanimate objects. In Australia, researchers have recorded 64 deaths by the dangerous creature, but even if it doesn't take your life, the sting can cause lasting health effects on the victim's immune system, as well as leave them covered in burning welts, blisters, and bleeding lesions from where it touched you. Some Australian swimmers and divers have resorted to wearing pantyhose in the water so that even if they do come into contact with the terrifying creature, the venom won't be released as their tentacles won't sense the reactive skin chemical. But even so, I will be taking further protection and not going near them to begin with.
Number 7. Brazilian wandering spider. Okay, spiders in general are creepy, but this one, the size of the spider is huge. It can be 5 to 7 inches long. Now, if that doesn't scare you already, may I add that it has a highly venomous bite. Many spiders have fangs packed full of toxins, but aren't known to bite people. Unfortunately, the Brazilian wandering spider is not one of these. It bites people, so beware. Even worse, this spider often lives up to its name and wanders into densely populated areas to seek shelter in dark, cozy places like the inside of shoes, clothes, log piles, cars, and other places people may stick their hands. I just got the chills. Now, if you happen to get bitten by one of these, death can occur within 2 to 6 hours of a bite, typically as a result of lung failure, though fever, vomiting, and paralysis also can occur. Bites from Brazilian wandering spiders are uncommon, but don't let your guard down in their territory, just in case.
Next up at number 6, Giant spitting cobra. Found in the eastern and northeastern parts of Africa, the giant spitting cobra is exactly what it sounds like. These big old death snakes can measure up to 9 feet, and some have been known to possess enough venom to kill 15 people. The venom is released from the fangs located in the top jaw, and if threatened, the snake wastes no time spitting its venom at the attacker, sometimes reaching as far as 8 feet away. What's even scarier is their ability to release venom for hours without running out. The giant cobras tend to aim for the victim's eyes, as their venom can cause permanent blindness, but no matter where they get you, you can be in trouble. Their venom has a strong necrotizing effect, which means it can kill the tissue around the wound and cause the flesh to begin decomposition. Many survivors of spitting cobra attacks are disfigured from where the venom met their skin, and even when patients are administered with anti-venom, there is still a chance amputation may be required, which is insane. As if I needed another reason to be afraid of venomous snakes.
Number 5. Saltwater crocodile. Florida's alligators may be scary, but they have nothing on their cousin, the saltwater crocodile, who is more short-tempered, easily provoked, and aggressive towards anything that crosses its path. These crocodiles can grow up to 23 feet in length, weigh more than a ton, and are known to kill hundreds of people each year. With crocodiles as a whole are responsible for more human fatalities annually than sharks. Now, saltwater crocodiles are especially dangerous as they're excellent swimmers in both salt and fresh water, and can strike quickly with a bite delivering 3,700 pounds per square inch of pressure, rivaling that of the T-Rex. If that's not enough to scare you, let me put it into perspective. Humans chomp into a well-done steak around 200 per square inch, a mere 5% of the strength of this crocodile's jaw. So yeah, they're strong and can rip a human apart. These animals are mainly found in the Indo-Pacific region, everywhere from India to Vietnam and all the way to northern Australia. I will definitely be staying away from them.
Coming in at number 4, hippos. They might not be some unsuspecting creature with a venomous bite, but that doesn't mean they aren't one of the scariest things you could ever come into contact with. The hippopotamus, found in select corners of Africa, kills around 500 people a year. For reference, just 11 people reportedly died from shark-related incidents in 2021. Now, the hippo is not interested in eating you. They are largely herbivores that eat about 80 pounds in grass a day, although they will sometimes feast on a carcass every now and then. Their only reason to attack you is to defend their territory, and male hippos take that more seriously than maybe anything else in the world. Most commonly, hippos will attack people on boats, launching themselves onto the vessel and capsizing it before snapping your body like a twig with their powerful jaws. But even walking too close to their designated river could be the end of you. Known to even be territorial of the land surrounding their body of water, sometimes up to 550 yards away, if they spot anyone that they deem a threat, they will bolt their huge bodies at 20 miles per hour until you are, well, no longer a problem, let's just say. So while there are a lot of animals to be afraid of catching at a bad time, the hippo is definitely near the top.
Number 3. Pufferfish. Everyone thinks these are so cute, but they can be very dangerous, so don't touch one. Pufferfish, also known as blowfish, are located in tropical seas around the globe. They're the second most poisonous vertebrae on the planet, and they're arguably more dangerous as their neurotoxin is found in the fish's skin, muscle tissue, liver, kidneys, and gonads. Now, some people like eating pufferfish, so all of that must be avoided when preparing the creature for human consumption. While wild encounters are certainly dangerous, the risk of death from a pufferfish increases when eating it in countries like Japan, where it's considered a delicacy known as fugu and can only be prepared by trained, licensed chefs. Even then, accidental deaths from ingestion occur several times each year. The neurotoxin is up to 1,200 times more poisonous than that of cyanide and can cause deadening of the tongue and lips, dizziness, vomiting, arrhythmia, difficulty breathing, muscle paralysis, and if left untreated, death. So yeah, I'd suggest not eating one. Better safe than sorry.
Coming in at number 2, the blue-ringed octopus. Don't let the adorable tininess of this cute little polka-dotted fella fool you. The blue-ringed octopus can kill you, and it will do so faster than you can imagine. Native to the Pacific Ocean, the tiny creature is found in the soft, sandy bottom of tide pools and coral reefs. Now, usually they keep to themselves, hiding out in crevices or shells, but if you catch them outside their hiding spot, do yourself a favor and get as far away as you can. When threatened, the bright blue rings appear, and anything that gets too close will be bitten. Their venom is 1,000 times more powerful than cyanide, and these tiny little death traps pack enough to kill roughly 26 humans in a matter of minutes. First, the venom blocks nerve signals in the body, causing your muscles to go completely numb, while a wave of nausea and blindness overcomes the body. Ultimately, all of your muscles are paralyzed, including those required to breathe, and so the victim will die from a lack of oxygen. To date, there is no known antidote, although if it's caught early enough, you can sometimes be saved by artificial respiration. To make them even scarier, their deadly bite is usually painless, so most don't know they've even been attacked until it's too late. Thankfully, the blue-ringed octopus won't go out of its way to harm you, so just leave them alone and you will live to see another day.
And coming in at number 1 is golden poisonous dart frog. From the name, you know this frog is poisonous. It doesn't look scary, it's a bright yellow frog. But don't be fooled. Despite its small size, this frog is likely the most poisonous animal on the planet. It has enough venom in its body to kill 10 adults. Its toxins are located on its skin, so just touching it is dangerous. These frogs are actually very important to the local indigenous cultures in Colombia's rainforest. The frog is the main source of the poison and darts used by the natives to hunt their food. They carefully expose the frog to the heart of a fire, and the frog exudes small amounts of poisonous fluid. The tip of the arrows and darts are soaked in the fluid and remain deadly for 2 years or longer. Scientists are unsure how the golden poisonous dart frog gets its venom, as scientific studies show that if the frog does not eat its usual diet of Colombian plants and insects, it does not have venom. While an encounter with this animal can be terrifying, scientists have also found it very useful. So, to conclude, don't touch this frog.
The colossal squid is a creature that is not to be confused with the giant squid, which is similar but slightly smaller. These guys live in the darkest, coldest depths surrounding the waters of Antarctica. This creature lives up to its name as it reaches an average of 46 feet in size, and it weighs around 500 kilograms, with the females being the largest of the species. They also have large tentacles equipped with suckers that have little razor hooks on them to better latch onto its prey, so let's hope it's not you. Its diet mainly consists of large fish, such as the 7-foot Patagonian toothfish, and small ones, and some even consume their own kind. But they've also been known to try and consume even larger prey, like sperm whales, who often have been seen with scars attributing to the battles they must have faced. They're colossal, they're scary, and they're ambitious. What more could you want from a sea monster? Only 2 specimens have ever been collected, with the second being found recently in 2014, so on top of how frightening they are, they're also extremely elusive. In our number 9 spot today, we have the scalloped hammerhead shark. These sharks of course belong to the hammerhead family, and the main feature is their oddly shaped heads. These guys are a coastal pelagic species, and their eyes and nostrils can be found at the ends of the tips of their head extensions. These sharks like to use the shore as a breeding ground, and their young have an incredibly high metabolic rate, which means that they need a ton of food or else they will starve. These guys are quite notable for their large and complex brains. They have quite high levels of cognitive capabilities, and they're often really socially intelligent. They have complex migratory patterns and habitat relationships, and they're very athletic and clever when it comes to capturing prey. Nothing better than a super smart, extremely hungry shark. Their brains are great for the species in a multitude of ways, of course, but especially in terms of reproduction. Because of their social intelligence, it helps them to seek out the fittest members of the species to procreate with. Unfortunately, as of this year, however, the scalloped hammerhead shark is now listed as critically endangered, with the main cause for the population decline being overfishing. They are overharvested because of their large size, as well as the fact that apparently their fins have a high fin needle content, and so they are sold for $100 to $120 US per kilogram. In our number 8 spot today, we have tiger sharks. Tiger sharks are a species of shark that are the only surviving member of their genus. These macro predators can grow to be quite large, reaching lengths of over 5 meters or 16 feet and 5 inches. They're usually found in tropical and temperate waters, and their tiger name comes from the dark stripes that can distinctly be seen running down its body, although these marks do fade as the sharks mature. Tiger sharks live mostly solitary lives, and they are nocturnal hunters. They are well known for having quite the variety of prey, which includes crustaceans, fish, seals, birds, squid, turtles, sea snakes, dolphins, and even other smaller sharks. Unfortunately, these sharks are nearing a point of being a threatened species due to finning and fishing by humans, but it is thought that the Bermuda Triangle might be home to a secret sort of breeding ground for these guys. Hopefully, if this is the case, we can find a way to help protect the area so that the species can once again thrive. After the great white shark, tiger sharks are the second in line when it comes to the most recorded fatal attacks on humans, but although that sounds terrifying, these events are extremely rare. I learned that from the documentary that I watched. In our number 7 spot today, we have the deep sea lizardfish. Deep sea lizardfish are a small family of deep water fish who are related to the telescope fish. These guys have flat heads and curved, barbed teeth, and they grow up to 78 centimeters or 31 inches in length, which makes them a pretty moderately sized fish. They prefer to stay at depths of 1,600 meters or 5,200 feet, and they're actually one of the world's deepest living apex predators. These lizardfish are known to eat anything that comes their way, including other fish of their own kind. Despite the lack of light in the depths of the ocean, these guys have really large eyes and pupils, and their vision is actually really important for their prey detection, as their well-developed eyes allow them to see any residual or bioluminescent light. Not a lot is known about their reproduction habits, but one thing that is known is that deep sea lizardfish have both male and female reproductive organs, which is thought to be an adaptation to low population density. In our number 6 spot today, we have the flying spaghetti monster. I know, it sounds a little silly, but I swear this creature really does exist. This deep sea creature is a species of siphonophore that can usually be found in the Atlantic Ocean. While these guys appear to be one organism, they're actually a colonial organism, which means that they're composed of many medusoid and polypoid zooids. Zooids are multicellular units that develop from one single fertilized egg, and they combine to create functional colonies like the flying spaghetti monster. In our number 5 spot today, we have the faceless cusk eel. Anything that's called faceless certainly can't be good, and this eel is absolutely no exception. These guys don't have a face, and they honestly look like the dementors of the deep sea. The first time one of these was found was in 1973 when oceanographers aboard the HMS Challenger discovered it, but for a century, no one else came across one of these guys. Perhaps it's because they like to make their home in the icy waters located 13,000 feet below the surface of the ocean. Just a few years ago, when these guys were sort of rediscovered, one of the leaders of the expedition, Tim O'Hara, told The Guardian that, quote, "It looks like 2 rear ends on a fish." Really. Apparently, the mouth of these guys sits underneath its body and can extend out to catch food before disappearing back inside its own body. It's kinda cool, kinda gross. In our number 4 spot today, we have the fangtooth fish. The fangtooth fish has a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth, perfect for clutching just about any size of prey in its jaw. That's right, any size. They live in the deepest parts of the ocean, the deepest having been recorded around 16,000 feet. That is until they just so happen to feel like migrating up to the surface for a little vacation. Unlike a lot of other deep sea dwellers, fangtooths do not have any bioluminescent organs to attract their prey. That is because they're not the sit and wait kind of predator, and instead they seek out their lunch using their excellent sense of smell. They are more active than most deep sea dwellers and heavily rely on any light that may sink into their dark home. In our number 3 spot today, we have the Pacific viperfish. The Pacific viperfish can be found at different areas in the ocean, depending on the time of day. They usually like to stay in the baffle zone, which is about 100 meters to 400 meters below the surface of the ocean, but during the nighttime, they will sometimes rise up into much shallower water because there is more food for them to eat. It's easy to pick out which fish is a viperfish because of the fact that its jaw is sticking out forward, and then they have those extra long pointy teeth. The Pacific viperfish is predatory and mostly eats other fish, but it will also chow down on crustaceans, plankton, and shrimp. This fish can grow to be about 1 foot long, and they are considered one one of the most aggressive fish for their size. I know it's only 1 foot long, but hearing how vicious it is, coupled with how ugly it is, and I really don't want to be anywhere near this thing. One cool thing about these fish though is that they have what is called ultra black skin, and it reduces the reflection of anything that is illuminated around them so that they can camouflage themselves easier in the darkness of the deep sea. In our number 2 spot today we have the sea spider. Okay, if you're like me and don't like the spiders that exist on land, unfortunately this one is not going to be up your alley. Sea spiders are giant, and they like to suck the life out of their prey. Yeah, how terrifying and honestly gross. They basically just latch onto their prey for dear life and suck out all of the fluid that they possibly can. They are gross, but they technically aren't actually spiders. These guys have a leg span that is comparable to some of the largest land spiders, but the thing with these guys is that they carry their organs in their legs, because I mean they're basically all legs. The good news is that they prefer the really cold temperatures like the ones in the waters surrounding Antarctica, so unless you're planning on taking an icy cold plunge anytime soon, you're unlikely to encounter one of these creepy crawly sea creatures. In our number 1 spot today we have the megamouth shark. These guys are a species of deep water shark that is rarely ever seen by humans, so there is so much about them that remains a total mystery. Since its discovery, which first came in 1976, there have been fewer than 100 specimens ever observed or caught. These guys are planktivorous, which means that they like to feed on planktonic foods. This leads to them swimming with their mouths wide open, and this, coupled with their extremely large heads and lips, makes them easily recognizable if you were to ever run into one on a casual trip to the deep sea. From encounters and photographs to attacks that are not for the faint of heart, here are the top 10 giant sharks that might be the Megalodon. Who knows? Starting off in our number 10 spot we have the Demon. There are many stories and alleged sightings of what is now referred to as the Black Demon of Cortez, which is said to be a massive black shark seen off of Mexico's Baja coast. One story in particular regarding this elusive shark comes from a fisherman named Eric Mack. He had reported that one day while sailing he felt his boat begin to rock, which immediately gave him the feeling something was awry. Eric was even further startled when he explained that he saw a massive, towering tail sticking at least 5 feet out of the water. The stories of this shark are so infamous that it was even the focus of an episode of a History Channel show called Monster Quest. Maybe if there's a part 2 of this video, we'll talk about some more of the sightings around the Demon. In our number 9 spot today we have the prehistoric monster. Back in 1959, a fisherman named Tex Geddes and his friend James Gavin were boating somewhere just off of the coast of Scotland. It is said that during their time out to sea they encountered a sea monster that neither of them had ever seen before. They described its head as being sort of turtle shaped and that it was a quote hellish monster of prehistoric times, and said that it was breathing heavily through a quote large red gash of a mouth. Okay, not exactly a kind description, but definitely a bit of a terrifying one. I think it's important to bring up that we actually don't really know what megalodons look like. We have a sort of idea, but at the end of the day we only have some fossils, jaws, spines, teeth. It doesn't really leave us that much to work with. While it isn't quite clear what these two men saw for sure, and it's likely that we'll never know, whatever it was definitely wasn't just the average sea creature. In our number 8 spot today we have the TikTok shark. In May of last year, someone on TikTok called Alex Albrecht, who is a marine biodiversity student as well as a musician, shared a video on the app that had people seriously shocked. The TikTok shows a massive shark lurking around the ship that Alex was on, which is said to have been just off of the coast of Massachusetts at the time. The ship was full of research students when this massive shark made its appearance, many of which either screamed or had some sort of expletive in response. Another TikTok user asked in the comments if the shark in the video is a megalodon, considering how absolutely huge the thing was. Was this an actual megalodon? Likely not, but hey, I'm not the marine biodiversity student here, so who am I to say? In our number 7 spot today we have snorkeling. Robert Pamperin and a friend, Gerald Lair, were snorkeling off of La Jolla Cove in California in 1959 when Robert was attacked by a shark. It is said to have all happened quite quickly, and Gerald was alerted to the distress when he heard Robert scream. Gerald turned and saw Robert unusually high in the water and his mask was missing. At this point Gerald dove under, and this is when he realized exactly what was going on. There was a shark that had Robert in its mouth up to his waist. Unfortunately, there really wasn't much that Gerald could do to stand up to this absolutely massive shark that he described as larger than your average great white. Robert sadly did not survive the event, and by the time rescuers arrived, they were only able to locate one of his fins. In our number 6 spot today, we have the photographer. This is an encounter that occurred just last year in November, basically a year ago. Underwater photographer Darren Verbeck was diving off of the coast of Hawaii's Big Island when he saw what he thought was a school of fish. He began to get closer, I mean the whole photographer thing, and as he got closer he started to think that what he was actually seeing was a tiger shark. He got even closer and that's when he said, quote, "I kept looking at the head. I'm like, that is not a tiger shark." And it got closer and closer and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. Darren continued to get closer to the shark and estimated it to be over 15 feet, which is definitely quite large. He explained that the shark was not acting in a threatening way, so he continued to take his photos and shot as much as he could before the massive shark decided to swim away. Experts explained that the shark was likely in the area because of humpback whales, and honestly, I don't want to see the shark that could take down one of those beasts. In our number 5 spot today, we have Deep Blue. This shark is in fact not a Megalodon, I'll just be honest about that, but it definitely is a more modern contender. Deep Blue is the name of a great white shark who is most definitely one of the largest ever recorded, at least in our lifetime. This colossal monster is the largest great white shark ever caught on camera by scientists. She is measured to be 20 feet long, 8 feet high, and about 2.5 tons, and while this isn't all that huge compared to her massive prehistoric cousin, it certainly is no small feat. Rumors of her existence have been spread since as far back as the 1990s, but it wasn't until 2014 that she was officially caught on camera and documented. Researchers at the time were in the midst of studying tiger sharks, but she made her grand appearance after scavenging some food from a sperm whale carcass nearby. In our number 4 spot today, we have the USS Indianapolis. This is a story that has been considered the worst shark attack in history, which is definitely a horrific thing to think about. In 1945, the USS Indianapolis was an unescorted US warship that was sailing in the Pacific when it was struck by a Japanese torpedo. This had no problem tearing the ship in two, which then meant that 900 sailors were now floating in the ocean waiting for rescue. Over the next 5 days, nearly 600 men lost their lives due to shark attacks. That's either a group of sharks or a few very large, very hungry ones. From the survivors' accounts of what happened over the course of those days, it seemed like an absolutely nightmare situation. This is exactly why it has gone on to be called one of the worst shark attacks in history. In our number 3 spot today, we have Rodney Fox. Rodney Fox is a man who is thought of as one of the best spear fishermen in the world. In 1963, he was partaking in the Australian Spearfishing Championships, which were being held just south of Adelaide, when he went through what is widely regarded as, again, one of the worst shark attacks in history. The shark he encountered bit him around the waist, which ended up puncturing his diaphragm, ripping his lungs, and crushing his rib cage. Not only this, but the attack left his organs exposed, so much so that when he finally made it back to shore, those rescuing him had to keep his wetsuit on to ensure that his insides actually stayed on the inside. Despite the fact that Rodney needed at least 4 hours of surgery and about 400 stitches, like many people who have had these sort of terrifying encounters, rather than shying away from sharks in the water, he leaned in. He actually became an advocate for sharks after this. He created the first underwater shark observatory and helped to dispel the rumors that sharks are bad, crazy, scary animals that we should all fear. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Jersey Shore. Back in 1916, during the summer season, there were 5 different shark attacks that occurred over the span of 10 days that ended up in the deaths of 4 people. This wasn't something that had been seen before in the area, which of course left people speculating as to why this was happening. There was a heat wave in the area during the time, which likely led to more people being out, enjoying summertime sort of activities, and maybe this attracted the shark, but in the end, no one knows for sure, because no one even knows what kind of shark is responsible for the attacks in the first place. Luckily, this didn't go on to become a continuous trend, and whatever shark this was, it went on its merry way, or perhaps found another source of food, but this series of attacks definitely kept the public on edge for the weeks and months surrounding. In our number 1 spot today, we have Watson and the Shark. For this one, we are headed all the way back to 1749 with a cabin boy named Brooke Watson. Brooke was swimming in the Havana harbor when he had his encounter with a shark. This one grabbed him by his right foot and dragged him underwater. The shark got a second chomp on his foot before a rescue boat was able to come and save him. The sailor on the boat managed to get the shark to back off enough that they could get Brooke out of the water. Brooke lost his lower leg, but his life was saved, which is absolutely the most important part. Brooke's story is not over, however. however, as he went on to become a member of Parliament and eventually Lord Mayor of England. He was so proud of himself for not only surviving a shark attack, but then going on to earn this title that he commissioned famous artist John Singleton Copley to create a painting called Watson and the Shark, which detailed his terrifying encounter and probably went on to scare a ton of people at the time.
Starting off this countdown in no order, we have the Mosasaurus. This sea creature was alive back during the Cretaceous period, which was 145 to 65 million years ago. It was a massive aquatic lizard that grew to around 58 to 59 feet. In fact, they were at the top of the food chain, eating everything beneath them. This included sharks, reptiles, and even other Mosasaurus. Yes, they feasted on their own kind. Fossilized remains of this beast were first discovered in the 1700s in the Netherlands. From there, they learned that it inhabited the Atlantic Ocean and adjacent seaways. The Megalodon, or the Meg, used to lurk the waters 20 million years ago. They were highly aggressive and massive. Estimates suggest that it grew between 15 to 18 meters in length, which is 49 to 59 feet in length. So they were enormous. Fossils have been discovered all around the world though, in North America, South America, Africa, Western Asia, and Antarctica. In our 9th spot today we have Leviathan. Now this dude was in direct competition with the Megalodon. They were around 57 feet in length and weighed around 100,000 pounds. So yeah, they were pretty hefty guys. Not only that, but they had incredibly large teeth. Their teeth reached over a foot in length. This earned them the title of having the largest known biting teeth of any animal. But they died out between 3.6 and 2.6 million years ago. Just like the Meg, these creatures struggled to adapt to climate change, and they suffered losing their primary prey, which was small to medium-sized whales. If this creature was still around today, I couldn't imagine what the ocean would be like. You'd never catch me swimming in it, that's for sure. In our 8th spot today we have the giant oarfish. The oarfish is the world's longest bony fish. They can be up to 56 feet, which is 17 meters in length, and they can weigh about 600 pounds, which is 270 kilograms. They also look pretty weird, like they look like a cross between an eel and a fish, but they have bright silvery skin with bright red spikes running down its back. Back in the 1860s, two men were gathering seaweed on the coast of Bermuda when this creature washed up on the rocks. They immediately got scared and thought it was a nasty sea serpent, so they killed it. Later, it was discovered to only be an oarfish. In our 7th spot, we have ichthyosaur. Between 1976 and 1990, scientists unearthed the largest ichthyosaur tooth ever found. The width of this tooth root was twice as large as any aquatic reptile known. It had a diameter of 60 millimeters, which is 2.4 inches. This makes it the thickest ichthyosaur tooth found so far. Then in 2018, paleontologists discovered a 3-foot jaw segment that belonged to this creature. Then they started to piece together the fossil fragments of this creature and concluded that this animal could have grown to 85 feet in size, bigger than they originally thought this creature was. Now, these creatures were interesting. They roamed the oceans about 200 million years ago and had body shapes kind of similar to dolphins. It's said that they vanished about 25 million years before the mass extinction that wiped out the dinosaurs. In our 6th spot today we have the Shastasaurus. Now this is the biggest known ichthyosaur. In fact, to this day, this creature is the largest marine reptile that has yet been found. Now I say yet to be found because the oceans are massive, okay? Who knows what else is out there lurking that we haven't discovered yet? There's still so much to be discovered. Anyways, turns out that these bad boys lived in Canada. Woo, my home country. And they were about 69 feet in length, or 21 meters. But some researchers have proposed that they were even bigger, and that's based on their partial fossils. So we really don't know their true size. I mean, it's said that the modern blue whale was the largest animal that ever lived, but paleontologists believe that these guys were even bigger based on their fossil records. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the whale shark. Now don't be fooled, okay? This isn't a mix between a whale and a shark. It's not a whale-shark hybrid. It's not even a whale, okay? But it is a shark. The only reason it's called a whale shark is because of its size. It currently holds many records for size in the animal kingdom. It is one of the largest sharks and largest living non-mammalian creature. And it's been around for at least 28 million years. It is said to be 65 feet in length and it weighs about 75,000 pounds. Now, when you think of sharks, you might think that they love to eat fish, you know? And that when they get a whiff of blood, they'll go crazy. Well, whale sharks aren't even like that at all. In fact, they're filter feeders, meaning that they eat plankton, fish eggs, and kill decaying plants, all that kind of stuff. So these sharks are pretty harmless. In fact, since it is a filter feeder, it has the ability to sift through over 1,500 gallons of water in an hour as part of its feeding ritual. In our 4th spot today, we have Leadsichthys. The Leadsichthys lived in the oceans during the Middle Jurassic period. It was all over the place in size. It could grow anywhere from 30 feet to 100 feet. So that's a pretty drastic size difference. But to this day, it is considered the largest ray-finned fish to ever swim on Earth. In fact, they were named after paleontologist Alfred Nicholson Leeds, who made important finds of the remains in 1889. Now, these dudes are pretty weird looking creatures. They look like an old whale mixed with a fish, like it's really strange. They also have long pectoral fins and a tall tail fin, and although they look big and bad, they mainly eat zooplankton. In our 3rd spot today, we have Basilosaurus. The Basilosaurus, whose name literally means king lizard, lived around 41.3 to 33.9 million years ago. At first, they thought it was a reptile, but after scientists studied it more, they realized that it was indeed a marine mammal. So its name is very misleading because it's actually a whale, but it's weird, like it has a long eel-like body. It also has huge rows of teeth and it chewed its food, whereas whales kind of just swallow stuff whole. It was at the top of the food chain, so it likely fed on sharks and large fish among other marine mammals. This guy measures up to be about 49 to 66 feet in length, and that's 15 to 20 meters. In our 2nd spot, we have the fin whale. The fin whale is said to be the 2nd largest animal to ever live in the entire history of Earth. It was about 85 feet in length, which is 26 meters, and weighed about 80 tons. But even though they are massive, they are not predatory. In fact, they are totally harmless to people. They are filter feeders, so they eat like tiny krill and stuff like that. Like other whales, these had a white underside with a dark backside. They also live all around the world. They live in every ocean except parts of the Arctic where it's just covered in ice, and they can travel great distances while munching on relatively little food. As a result, they can live for nearly 150 years. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the blue whales. Now, it seems hard to believe, but blue whales are significantly larger than megalodons. The largest blue whale weighed about 418,000 pounds, which is more than 200 tons. Average blue whales, on the other hand, weigh a bit more than 100 tons, whereas the megalodon weighed only 50 tons. So they got nothing on the blue whales. Not only that, but even blue whale dwarfs reached 110 feet, which is 34 meters, and weighed about 200 tons. That's more than twice the size of the largest meg. Isn't that crazy? But the meg and the blue whale never met. The earliest fossils of blue whales date back to roughly 1.5 million years ago. That's about a million years after the megalodon is believed to have been around.
Starting us off at number 10 is the barrel-eye fish. Now this fish isn't that creepy looking, I will admit, but it is a little gross and futuristic looking. Why? Because you can see directly inside its head. Since the Mariana Trench is so deep and dark, how the heck is a fish gonna see where it's going or what's around them? Answer: they're gonna make their own light. The barrel-eye fish has a transparent head with 2 barrel-like eyes inside of its head that face upwards. This lets the fish see the silhouettes of its prey. How convenient. Scientists believe that its transparent head allows for the barrel-eye fish to collect just a bit more light, which gives this fish just a bit more of an advantage over its deep water competition. The barrel-eye fish wasn't even known to humans until 1939, when one was pulled from its underwater home at 2,500 feet below below the surface, although they can't survive past a certain point as they are too used to the deep underwater pressure. Luckily, scientists now have high-tech underwater rovers that they can use to go learn more about the reproduction and life cycles of these strange fish. At number 9, we have the deep sea dragonfish. Any fish with the name dragon in it is sure to be a sight for sore eyes, literally. This fish has humongous teeth, a pretty ugly face, hashtag sorry not sorry, and is known to be a deep underwater assassin. These fish are 6 inches or 15 centimeters long and live at the depths of 6 to 7,000 feet. Like many of these deep water creatures, the dragonfish also has the highly sought after bioluminescent feature. Beneath its chin dangles a lighted barbell that is used to communicate with other fish as well as is used for camouflage when need be. Other fish mistaken the light bulb for another smaller fish or even prey of its own, only to be surprised that itself is the prey and that it's way too late. Chomp! Some dragonfish even have gained the ability to glow red. Some believe that the red glow is used to signal its deep water brethren, while others believe it to be a signal of the dragonfish about to pounce. Either way, a glowing red fish sounds terrifying to me no matter how big or small, so I'ma stay in the shallow end. At number 8, we have the deep sea hatchetfish. Why is it called a hatchetfish? Well, imagine if that hatchet in your garage had fins, eyes, gills, and could swim freely around the ocean. Then it would pretty much look like this guy, or one of these guys, because believe it or not, there are over 40 different species of hatchetfish out there, and I'm sure there is more somewhere. These fish are the same size as the dragonfish, so they aren't that big, but they can be found at depths of 5,000 feet. Be careful though, these guys are also sneaky because they have that highly sought after bioluminescent feature and can camouflage themselves from predators quite easily as well. I mean, we won't see them often because of the depths that they live at, but that's okay, I'm not complaining. I like seeing the hatchet stay where it belongs, in my garage, safely kept away from the water and only taken out when having backyard campfires. And man oh man does that sound good right now. Coming in at number 7, we have comb jellies. They have a much more scientific name, but I think comb jellies is much more fun, and if you really care about the scientific name, I'll let you take a stab at it on your own. Anyway, these crazy light up alien-like fish can come in sizes from a few inches all the way up to 5 feet. Luckily, like their other jellyman cousin, the actual jellyfish, these guys don't have any stingers, but they will attack their own sometimes, so watch out for those underwater MMA matches between these guys. They swim through the ocean by swaying their comb teeth-like tentacles on the side of their body, and they are another sight for sore eyes, really. Just recently, the New York Times found a new way to continue researching these creatures by taking samples of their DNA from a process that is called environmental DNA sampling, where scientists collect snippets of DNA from fallen hair, skin, and mucus that the creatures shed into their environment underwater. It is said that the 200 known species could rise to 6 to almost 800 using this new system. I kinda would love some more, but can't deny that these creatures look totally out of this world, so props to the jellymans. At number 6, we have the sea devil anglerfish. So if a fish has the name dragon or devil in its name, you know it's one to probably look out for. Found deep in the Mariana Trench, probably from swimming up from hell, is the sea devil anglerfish. It has a crazy misshapen body, sorry to body shame, the razor-like teeth and fins, and teeth and eyes that can disappear just like that. Yeah, sounds like some demonic powers to me. Luckily for everyone on the planet, these fish aren't that big. Females are larger, and the biggest they can grow to be is 8 inches long, while males are only about 2 inches. It also has a bioluminescent bulb on top of its head that lures in prey before it even has a second to swim away. Now, does this sound familiar? Yeah, it should, because if you ever watched Finding Nemo, then this is the fish that Marlin and Dory almost got eaten by. So if you happen to be a superhuman and can swim at great depths to see these scary fish, in the words of Dory, just keep swimming. Coming in at our halfway point at number 5, we have the frilled shark. Remember the puffy shirt from Seinfeld with all of the frills? Well, Jerry looked pretty terrible in it, and this shark looks terrifying in it. Well, with them, not in it, because let's face it, the shark isn't wearing a shirt, but either way, I'm sure it could still make the shirt look cooler than Jerry Seinfeld. Anyway, this shark has the body of an eel with the head of probably one of the scariest creatures on Earth. It has 6 frilly gills on the side of its head to no one's surprise, and can measure up to 6 feet in length. That's longer than me. It also has 20 rows of razor-sharp, trident-shaped teeth that will tear right through any flesh it can sink its teeth into. They usually live in waters around 4,000 feet deep, and the odd time humans catch one and bring them to the surface, but please don't do this. 1, because don't go near these crazy things, and 2, because these creatures can't handle life above as they are used to the great underwater pressure. Any brought to the surface will almost die immediately. So remember, frilled sharks are friends, not food. Okay, we have had dragon and demon in the names of some of our underwater creatures today. Can you guess one more that we might haven't have said? head? No? Well, how about goblin? That's right, coming in at number 4 we have the frilled shark's trusty companion, the goblin shark. If you get one look at these things, you will understand exactly why these things are called goblin sharks. They have a large protruding snout, then underneath that is a protruding jaw of razor sharp teeth. Honestly, once again, to put it simply, these guys are just straight up ugly and scary. They also aren't the normal gray color that most sharks are. They are instead colored with a pinkish hue. In case these guys aren't scary enough, you will be happy to know that these things grow to be 18 feet in length. But you probably won't ever see one, as they live at depths of 3,000 feet and go deeper the older they get. Other than that, there is not much known about these creatures because of how deep they live, but also because of how freaking scary they are. Yeah, Dewey ain't going anywhere near that thing. Starting us off in our top 3, at number 3 is the Dumbo Octopus. I know, the thing doesn't sound or seem that scary. After all, it's named after a freaking Disney cartoon, I get it, but these crazy looking things are known to eat its prey whole. They only grow to be about a foot in length, but if they can swallow its prey whole, I don't want to imagine how big its prey can be. Because maybe they even eat like snakes, who knows? Anyway, these guys live at depths of 9,800 to 13,000 feet and are actually the deepest dwelling octopus known to science. That's pretty cool. So while these guys actually look kinda cute, I'm sure they are quite the scare for some deep water fish, as well as who knows if they evolved to have larger cousins at the very bottom of the sea. Who knows? Yeah, I don't. At our number 2 spot, we have the cousin of Dumbo, the telescope octopus. These things are so weird and also have a completely transparent body. Well, almost, so I guess that makes it more translucent, but I don't know. Anyway, these weird looking octopi live at depths of 6,500 feet and they don't swim horizontally either. They actually just float vertically, making it harder for deep sea predators to spot it. It also has webbing between its tentacles, giving it a ghostly like shape. And one last thing that makes it kinda creepy is that these creatures have wicked eyes. In its head are 2 protruding eyeballs that can fully rotate and keep an eye out for its deep water predators. What kind of predators? Well, let's check out our number 1 spot. And finally, coming in at number 1 spot is sea monsters. Okay. Have sea monsters actually been found in the deep waters of the Marianas Trench? No. But could there be? Absolutely. I know I have gone on and on about how little our oceans have been explored, but one of those specific places in our oceans is the Marianas Trench. It is so deep that no human on Earth can reach its depths fully, and even if they did, they would need an incredibly powerful pressurized submarine. So who the heck knows what else is swimming around at the bottom of our oceans? I mean, they said the giant squid was a legend and it turned out to be real, so anything goes, really. Let's just hope we find footage of a monster first and not find out the hard way, you know, by being blunt.
Starting us off with number 10 is the Helicoprion, also known as the spiral-mouthed killer, terrorizing the seas nearly 300 million years ago, and thank God for that. The Helicoprion was a bizarre species of shark that had one of the craziest sets of teeth in natural history. Its unusual feature of teeth has always been a huge debate in the scientific community, and it's easy to see why. The only fossils that have been found of this animal contain sets of spiraled teeth, and scientists are still trying to figure out just how they would possibly fit into a shark's mouth. What they do know is that, like many modern sharks, the Helicoprion most likely had to replace their teeth pretty often. Many images online show the terrifying shark with a buzzsaw mouth, but some scientists believe that the tooth spiral may have actually been located inside the shark's throat. Gross. I don't care where those teeth are located, all I know is I don't want them anywhere near me.
Coming in at number 9 now is the Mosasaurus. Honey, if you thought the Megalodon was big, you ain't seen nothing yet. The Mosasaurus was a prehistoric marine reptile that grew up to 60 feet in length. Now the max possible length of a meg was 60 feet, but that was the biggest of the big. Most mosasaurs reach at least 55 to 56 feet, so both are pretty much the same size too. It existed during the late Cretaceous period nearly 70 to 66 million years ago. The name itself means lizard of the Meuse River, and it was dubbed as one of the most dangerous animals in the water during the Cretaceous period. Like these things did not come to mess around. They lived near the ocean surface and ate mostly fish, turtles, and other smaller mosasaurs, and they didn't like to dive too deep into the water. The Mosasaurus itself looks sort of like a gigantic, emphasis on gigantic, crocodile that just had fins. If you want a good indication of what this creature looked like, you can see it very clearly in Jurassic World in the scene where the people are watching the water and the Mosasaurus leaps out and eats a great white shark. And that was probably just a light snack before lunch.
At number 8 we have the Scalloped. What's worse than a scorpion? A sea scorpion that's bigger than you. This creature was known to be a predator nearly 400 million years ago and was probably willing to eat anything smaller than itself. Rumor has it that included members of its own species. This creepy crawler grew to over 8 feet long.
I'm 5'7", so let's put that into perspective. Arthropod is a group of species that includes insects, lobsters, and crabs. This guy is the largest discovered species of the whole group. They also had a huge spiked claws that could kill a fish with ease. Experts believe that they would ambush their prey with their claws before tearing their meal apart. There's an image I didn't need in my head.
Filling our number 7 slot is the Quetzalcoatlus. Yeah, don't worry, even when I saw that word I was like, how on earth did you say that? But anyway, this beast was a pterosaur from the late Cretaceous period and is one of the largest known flying animals of our world. That's a heavy title to carry. Think of this creature as a pterodactyl on steroids. Their wingspan was known to reach anywhere between 40 to 52 feet wide, and its minimum wingspan was 36 feet. The Quetzalcoatlus also had a very long sharp pointed beak, and they would mostly eat like any modern day skimmer, even though at their size they could probably kill anything that may have been roaming around with them at the time, so let's just be real. They'd catch a lot of fish during flight while skimming the waves, and they didn't actually have any teeth, which is good for us. However, other people speculate they didn't skim at all and in fact ate like scavengers. There's not a significant amount known on the species, but one thing's for sure, if that thing is 15 times bigger than I am, you can bet your ass you won't find me anywhere near it.
Now at number 6 is Titanoboa. If the movie Anaconda scared you, you might want to skip this one. As simple as it gets, Titanoboa is the largest snake that ever existed. I am speaking in past tense because yes, they are extinct, and yes, I am happy about it. This massive snake grew to more than 40 feet long and could weigh up to 2,500 pounds. To help put things in perspective, that's almost as much as a grown giraffe weighs. Huge. Similar to the anaconda, they can fit their entire prey in their mouth with just one swallow. And I'm not talking about little mice, I'm talking deers, jaguars, and yes, even humans. Apparently this terrifying creature appeared not long after the dinosaurs went extinct. I guess the world needed a new top predator. I think I'd actually prefer having a dinosaur around.
Coming at number 5 is the Liopleurodon. Now this creature is another carnivorous marine reptile, and it is a type of plesiosaur. The name Liopleurodon itself means smooth-sided teeth. They lived during the Calovian stage of the Middle Jurassic period, and they were literally the apex predator in the sea near Europe at that time. The largest one ever recorded was a bit over 33 feet long, whereas the average size of them is somewhere between 16 to 23 feet. They also weighed a ton, I'm talking 2,000 to 4,000 pounds. Their teeth were around 7 centimeters long, and the animal itself was mainly found near England and France. The beast had 4 strong paddle-like limbs, which made it very good at accelerating, especially after whatever prey it wanted. If something that big and that fast came after me in the water, I would just let it take me, honestly. There would be no point in even me attempting to swim away. The Liopleurodon would probably laugh at me in that scenario, like I myself would be a joke.
At number 4 is Megatherium. When we think of sloths, we probably think of cute cuddly animals that sleep all day and mind their own business. A sloth isn't exactly the first thing that comes to mind when I think of deadly monsters. But the Megatherium was more like a modern sloth in giant size. Not only was it giant, but it was also known to be angry. It behaved like a sloth, sort of looked like a bear, and was about the size of an elephant. And no, I'm not exaggerating, it was huge. Unlike an elephant though, this giant sloth also had giant claws and could stand on its hind legs to appear even bigger to other animals. This is one sloth that I have no interest in petting, and turns out I wouldn't be able to anyways because they were extinct over 10,000 years ago.
Filling our number 3 slot is the Thalatoarchan. Now this was a type of ichthyosaur, and it was alive near Western America during the Middle Triassic era, and it was known to be the oldest known marine reptile that was also an apex predator. I feel like I'm saying this about every animal. Funnily enough, we have all our information about this creature from one single holotype, the FMNH PR3032, that was found in 2010. So this is a pretty recent discovery, go science. The total length of a Thalatoarchan is around 28 to 30 feet, and it was actually one of the first marine predators that was able to eat prey as big as itself. Their teeth had 2 edges that could both cut through prey, so either way whatever it's eating is getting torn to shreds big time. I wish I could say more about how it lived and how it ate, but not enough is known about the animal for me to do so. I mean, it was only formally described in 2013, so give me 5 years and I'll come back to this one, I promise.
Now at number 2 is the Scalloped gigantea, also known as my biggest fear. If you are deathly afraid of centipedes like me, then this one will make you cringe. It's the largest centipede in the world, growing to a whopping 26 centimeters, also known as 10 inches. They've been found in the central part of South America. Super thankful right now that I live in Canada. Not only is it huge, long, and creepy, but to top it all off, it has modified jaws on its head which can trap and deliver venom to its prey. Its usual prey is mice, lizards, and frogs, but if you happen to get bit by one of them, it can cause severe swelling and fever. Their venom is toxic to humans. The fact that this one isn't extinct is a complete nightmare for me.
And finally, at number 1 is the Leviathan. Now this big boy is actually an extinct genus of sperm whales, and it got its name from the sea monster Leviathan. Go figure. It was mostly found near Peru and South America, and it was around during the Tortonian stage of the Miocene epoch, which is around 9 to 8 million years ago. It was a hyper-predatory sperm whale, and it was low-key, actually no, not even low-key, it was a high-key an apex predator. It grew to around 44 to 57 feet long, again nearly the size of a Megalodon, and the tallest tooth ever recorded from one was more than 14 inches big. That is the largest tooth ever recorded of any known animal. Its teeth were very deeply embedded into its gums, and they also interlocked, which helped them hold struggling prey. Like they need any more advantages. According to Discover magazine, this creature lived during the same time as the Megalodon, and it actually ate other whales that were 20 to 40 feet big and competed with the Meg for similar prey. If you can't find something scarier than the Meg, then find something just as scary. And that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this list of terrifying creatures. Let us know in the comments below about which one you'd avoid at all costs. I'd pick one, but honestly I can't even decide. What about you?
I can. The giant centipede.
Yeah?
Can't do it. I cannot do it. That is mine.
And it's still real. It's
still around South America. Yeah.
It can still come get us,
I won't
honestly.
be traveling.
Starting off our list in our number 10 spot, we have the Mauisaurus. These guys are a creature that was once very real, but they are thankfully a relic of our past because they are absolutely horrifying. They are named after the Maori god Maui, who is said to have pulled the islands of New Zealand up from the sea floor, so anything named after him is of course going to be an absolute ginormous beast. The neck of this creature measured around 49 feet long, which is the longest proportionate neck of any animal ever. The entire creature measured around 66 feet, so it's clear that their neck counted for a large portion of their body. But like, imagine a swimming dinosaur creature with a snake for a neck. That's kind of what these guys were like. These guys lived on Earth during the Cretaceous period, which is good news for us, but not so much for the other creatures that lived at the time. Creatures would jump into the water to avoid a T-Rex only to find this guy waiting for them. Yeah. No thank you. In our number 9 spot today we have SCP-169. SCP-169 is a bit of an enigma because it is said that it cannot and will never be contained. There's no structure on Earth large or strong enough to hold SCP-169, and while the exact location of it is currently unknown, satellite images suggest that it is located in the southern Atlantic Ocean. SCP-169 is said to be a marine arthropod of massive size and is often referred to as Leviathan. At first it was presumed that the tales were just myths, but during investigations of supposed paranormal activity, its existence became feared. The creature is estimated to have a body length of somewhere from 2,000 to 8,000 kilometers, and it is thought to have existed since the Precambrian era. As far as we know, this single specimen is the only of its kind, and next to nothing is known about its lifestyle. The creature moves quite slowly at a pace of less than 1 kilometer per week, but it is currently believed that it is just adrift. In the area that is believed to be the current location of the creature, there have been regular seismic tremors detected, and this is thought to be indicative of SCP-169's breathing. These tremors cause minor shifts in the island's terrain, so it is believed that the creature is currently dormant. In our number 8 spot today we have the Pacu. The Pacu is a name that refers to several species of fish that actually do exist here on Earth, and they belong to the family of fish that are related to piranhas. There is one reason why these guys freak me out and make me feel like they're from another universe, and that is because they have teeth that literally look like a human's teeth. As relatives of the piranha, you'd think that they would have those same razor sharp teeth and the underbite, but that is simply just not the case. In a positive turn of events, however, despite their aggressive cousin and their creepy teeth, they mostly feed on plant material instead of flesh and scales, so while they're super uncomfortable to look at, they're not a worry to us at all. What if these fish have weird teeth because they came from a universe where fish have human teeth and humans have fish teeth? How do we know that there's no parallel universe where that exists? We don't. In our number 7 spot today, we have SCP-3000. The area where SCP-3000 currently resides is a region in the Bay of Bengal that is around 300 kilometers in diameter. Because of the creature, any kind of deep sea diving by civilians is strictly prohibited, because if any contact is made, the humans will need to be immediately contained, quarantined, and processed for an indefinite amount of time. So what is SCP-3000? Well, it is a massive aquatic serpentine creature that resembles the giant moray eel. This one is a mostly sedentary creature, which may be due to its incredibly large size. While its exact measurements are unknown, it is believed to measure somewhere between 600 to 900 kilometers in length. This creature is carnivorous, and although it stays in one spot most of the time, that doesn't mean it doesn't have the ability to quickly snap up its prey. It is said that any direct observation, or even individuals within a certain distance of SCP-3000 will experience inexplicable head pain, paranoia, fear, panic, and memory loss or altercation. All of this being said, I think it's probably just safe to stay far, far away from this one. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Blobfish. I have spoken about the Blobfish before, and I will again until they get the justice that they deserve. We've all seen a picture of a Blobfish at some point or another. They're that fish that looks like a blob, or they kind of look like that coworker you don't really like, or the person in class who reminds the teacher that there was homework. I'm getting a little carried away, but you catch my drift. They aren't cute, and they were even voted world's ugliest animal, and while I understand why, I think the blobfish is a little misunderstood at the moment. These guys like to make their home deep in the ocean, somewhere from 2,000 to 4,000 feet, where the water pressure is much greater than it is up here. If we tried to visit the natural habitat of the blobfish, we would need some heavy-duty equipment to keep ourselves safe, because our human bodies do not like that kind of pressure. So applying this same logic, the blobfish needs the same kind of protection if it were to come to the surface. Or better yet, we could just leave them alone to live in their little deep sea lives. While in its natural pressure-filled habitat, the blobfish looks like a normal deep sea fish, when it is forced to the surface they turn into these blob-looking guys that we've all been making fun of. I guess what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, okay, these guys are from our Earth, but they're basically from the parallel universe that we call the deep sea. In our number 5 spot today, we have SCP-835. This creature is a large mass of coral-like polyps, with each individual polyp being larger than any known coral species. Some have been measured to have grown over a meter in diameter. SCP-835 has a central mass that is roughly shaped like an oval, with a polyp at each end. While this creature is unable to move around the deep sea, they appear to anchor themselves down by their large tentacles that come off of the polyps. The tentacles not only anchor the creature, but they also help in the feeding process, and they are coated with a sticky adhesive substance. This creature has an extremely hard outer shell, which means that diamond drills have been needed in order to help collect even the smallest samples of the specimens. This creature has the ability to secrete a pretty toxic batch of chemicals, parasites, and bacteria, so the idea of completely cracking one open is not something that is currently an option out of fear. SCP-835 also has the ability to grow at an incredibly fast rate, but it can also slow its own growth, even sometimes halting it for a full 24 hours. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Helicoprion. This is the weirdest looking sea creature I've ever seen, and I am so glad it does not exist anymore. This is a creature that once swam in our oceans long before any of us were around. These creatures were like sharks, and they grew to be around 15 feet long. Their lower jaw consisted of a tooth whorl, which makes them literally look like a cross between a shark and a circular saw. Jaws just got a whole lot more terrifying. The fossils found of these creatures have shown us that their teeth were serrated, so they most definitely were carnivores, but there has been debate about the exact placement of the teeth within the mammal. Does it matter that much though? A shark combined with a power tool is a bad combo no matter what. These These animals were able to survive the Permian-Triassic extinction though, which is a clear testament to their survival capabilities, and this might also mean that they lived extremely deep in our oceans. In our number 3 spot today we have SCP-3934. SCP-3934 is a species of amphibious reptiles that see the males growing to be 1.9 meters on average and the females growing to be 1.7 meters. These guys are omnivorous and like to snack on fish and aquatic flora. This species was first created in the early 20th century with the intent to sell them as exotic pets, and while the exact circumstances surrounding their creation is unknown, it has been confirmed that some share almost identical skeletal structures with historical plesiosaurs. These guys were part of a whole marketing campaign to make them one of the most desired pets, and that just may be where the whole Loch Ness Monster thing comes from. SCP-3934 are very social animals and they love to interact with humans as well. While being created, it is said that their behavior patterns were modeled after Labrador retrievers, so it is obvious that this species also makes a great best friend for man. I mean, aside from the whole we don't live in the water thing. Unfortunately, despite the intentions, they don't make great pets as they have a specialized diet and habitat requirements that are not easily met, and this led to a vast majority of the specimens either passing away or being abandoned by those who once owned them. In our number 2 spot today we have Leviathan melvillei. These guys were a kind of whale that existed at the same time as the Megalodon, so of course this means that they had to be quite a strong contender to match up to the Earth's largest predatory shark to ever exist. Their name of course comes from the Leviathan, and I can totally understand why. These are the whales that ate other whales for food. We know how large whales can be, so that is absolutely insane. These guys had the largest teeth of any animal that uses their teeth to eat. I said that like that because something like an elephant's tusk is technically larger, but elephants don't use those to eat. And they also don't eat whales, so there's that. These guys had heads that were 10 feet long and they had the same echolocation abilities as whales today have, which makes them even better and more adapted predators. Like having teeth 1.2 feet long wasn't enough, they also needed to have a few special skills. While blue whales are currently our largest animal on Earth, I don't think they would have been able to stand up to these prehistoric whales. In our number 1 spot today we have SCP-1128. This SCP is a little different than the other ones on today's list, and that is because it is more of an etheric entity. This creature has the ability to manifest itself as an enormous aquatic predator, but only to those who have been given its full description of the appearance, so I'll try to refrain from doing that today. People who have been infected by the creature won't really show any symptoms or abnormal behavior, but it is possible that they might show extreme aversion to going into the water. If an infected person enters the water and is fully submerged, no matter the depth, they will completely disappear underneath the surface of the water. Some of the time they will reappear a few moments later in a state of total panic, frantically trying to get out of the water, but other times instead of reappearing above the water, you'll instead see blood and debris cloud the water, with the debris later being able to be confirmed as the vanished person. The lucky ones who have survived have explained that while they had vanished, they were transported to the vast ocean where they were actively being pursued by SCP-1128. I don't know about you guys, but I don't ever want to encounter SCP-1128.